Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Next Perfect Step, where all possibilities lie in conversation. I'm your co host, Laurie Mullen.
And I'm your co-host, Kim McStay.
And I'm your co-host, Laurie Tremblay. Today we have another wonderful guest, Paula Vital. She's from Toronto. She's joining us today. And Paula is an award-winning mindfulness coach, yoga therapist, speaker, and writer. And she's dedicated to helping you move from striving to thriving by accessing the power of the present moment. With over 20 years of experience in the field of mindful leadership and health, Paula is passionate about helping people integrate ease, clarity, and well being into all aspects of their life. What a wonderful calling. So we're happy to have Paula with us today, and we'd love to just hear about your life and how you get into this field. I know you are a lawyer, and you're doing a lot in the corporate and personal world with people. So we'd love to hear more about how you got started.
Sure. So, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. You're all just so lovely, and it's a wonderful space. So I feel very welcome and almost like a sisterhood, even though we've never met in
Yeah.
person. So it's really, really great. And thank you to everyone for listening. It's my pleasure to be with you and to share a little bit of what I've learned, and hopefully it resonates and helps you along your journey. So for me, my family and I moved from Argentina to Canada when I was 9. And I was in a family of overachievers. My mom was a doctor and she was also a mom of 4. So at that time, that was really kind of crazy to be able to do that. And then my father was an engineer and also a social activist, very involved in community. And then when we moved to Canada, it was this push for a better life, for more, to make the world better, which is lovely. And it's always been very close to my heart. And I also took that on. It's my job to do well, to make the world better, to be the best I can be. So it was this drive to succeed that I inherited. I'm also Jewish, and that's a lot of our ancestry is about you tikkun olam, healing the world. So we work hard to make the world better, and it's beautiful. And what happened was I did well in school. I went to law school. I traveled the world. I became a fitness instructor. I worked at Club Med for a summer as a fitness instructor there. So I did all these things. But what I found is that because my habit of achieving and moving forward and moving to the next thing was so entrenched, as soon as I got the thing, whatever it was the happiness, the contentment was very short-lived. So it was like, okay, well, that's okay, but what next? What next? So I was always moving into the future, and even physically I think I was like forward, and in fitness I was running and spinning and always like fast, go go go. And this worked really well for me until I got into my law firm. So I went to law school, and then there's this big rush for the big firms. They come and they recruit you at law school, and then you get a summer job and an articling job, and then you have to compete for an associate position. So I did that, and I knew there were only 2 out of 10 that were going to get in. So I worked really hard and I got a position. And then I was sitting in this big office, and it's kind of ironic because it's actually literally a golden tower we have in Toronto that has gold. And I was sitting in this golden tower looking out the window, and then I was like, okay, what next? So I had this, I call it my quarter life crisis because I was around 24, 25. And, I'd traveled the world, I'd done all the things, but then it's like, okay, well, what now? And I thought, okay, well, maybe if I have a perfect body, because that's what they tell you, if you look really good. So then I started to get obsessed with diet and exercise to the point that it became a compulsion. So it became an eating disorder. Then I was thinner, but I was still not happy. So I thought maybe if I'm in the perfect relationship. So I became obsessed with dating. And it's like, if I find the perfect guy, but then I found a boyfriend. So I had a boyfriend, I had a thinner body, I had a good job. And then it was still not, I was feeling not good inside. And so that's when things kind of started to collapse. So I just lost my interest in work. I'm like, what's the point of, working so hard? Where am I going? And I started to get depressed. So some days I would just have really low energy and I couldn't get out of bed. And my mom would come help me for a few days, and I would almost like put myself back together and go out there. And I love this quote by Jim Carrey that I heard, that he says, to be depressed is the need for deep rest from the person that you're trying so hard to be. And so that was my source of my depression, was I was trying so hard to be this perfect person that's going to be amazing and that's going to fix the world and it's going to do everything, but it just like fell apart. It was just too much effort. And so my sister meditated. At the time, this was weird. Like now it's more mainstream and people do it, and it's more normal in a way. But at the time it was like, what are you doing? But for some reason, I got curious, maybe because I just ran out of options. I didn't know what else to do. So I said, what's this thing with meditation that you do? And so she recommended a book called Wherever You Go, There You Are by Jon Kabat-Zinn. And I thought, just even the title alone was so revealing. Like, I've gone to all these places in the world and I've done all these things and I've been with all these people, but everywhere I go, I find myself. So if I don't know myself, if I don't even spend time, getting curious about who I am and what's important to me and what I value, then there was really no achievement, no person, no diet that was going to get me there. So it really kind of shifted my whole way of thinking. And he said something else in that book, and I was so unable to be still at that time that I would just do stuff around my house while I listened to the audio tape. So for people that think, oh, I can't meditate because I'm too, and I actually walked out of my first yoga class because it was too slow for me. So if you're that person that, you just can't, so I would just listen to the audio tape and I would do stuff around my house. And then he said, you are more than just your thoughts. And then I kind of stopped and I said, what? My whole life I'd been my thoughts. If I had a problem, I would, pro and con it. I would talk to everybody about it. I would obsess about it continuously. But if I'm more than my thoughts, then what else is there? And so that became a really interesting exploration for me. So I started to dive in and I learned that there's actually a whole lot of who we are that is more than our thinking, and our thinking is just like a little part of our consciousness, and we can observe it, and it's not always true, and it's not always helpful, and it's certainly not always kind. And that's, I think, the piece that I've been working on the most with myself and with my clients over the last 20 years or so, because this idea that if we beat ourselves like a horse, to just like go faster, we'll do better, works for a period of time until the horse collapses, right? So something's going to go. But yet, if we do it the other way, if we learn what we love and bring joy and kindness, then, your horse will continue on. It'll just want to do more things for you. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started. And it became my life's passion to do it for myself and then to help others with this transformation from the constant thinking that there's something else outside of yourself that will make you whole or will make you happier. Sure, things can bring temporary content, joy, and that's beautiful, and going after your dreams and doing fun things, but you don't need to. Like, you can do it because it's fun, and because you want to, but you're whole and complete. You're the gift. And anything else is bonus. You're the one that makes the world better just by your presence, not by your doing.
I love that. That is amazing. Everything that you said is so true. And how you can go from your thinking, your mind, your thoughts to bring it really to your heart, to who you are as a person. Just like you said, you're enough as you are, and your presence is just a gift. That's a beautiful thing. Thank you for sharing that. And that you found your way from such a striving, we call it going around the gerbil, going around the wheel.
Yeah.
So, but you found your way out of that, and now you're helping other people to do that. So that's great. Your analogy with the horses, I think Kim could relate. She's got horses on her
Oh,
ranch.
And it's true, the kinder you are and the more patient you are, the more you get out of them, and they love helping you and working for you when you're like
Yeah.
that. So that was pretty neat to hear you say that.
yeah.
So are you still a lawyer?
Yeah, so that was kind of just the beginning, right? So what happened since then was I fell in love with mindfulness and I wanted to learn everything about it. So I did my yoga teacher training early on while I was still at the law firm. And I remember going to yoga class and it was like at 5:30 in the afternoon. I'm like, I don't know, because I worked till 8, 9 at night. And my world was people that work till 8, 9 at night. So I said, who are these people that go to yoga at 5:30? And my goal, I said, I want to go to yoga at 5:30. I want to find a way to do this. So I started doing it at the firm. I would go to my yoga and then I would do my work. And I even did a 10-day meditation retreat, even though you weren't really supposed to take your vacation time. You got it, but you weren't supposed. But I took my 10 days and at that time we had blackberries. It was, the new thing, but I didn't take it. Um, but eventually it wasn't the expectations of that place and how I wanted to live my life weren't meshing. And I remember actually at the meditation retreat, I was still very addicted to trying to figure things out in my mind. So they told me, focus on your breath. And I said, I can't because I need to figure out what my next job will be. Like, I need to think about it. And they're like, no, just focus on the breath. And it was the hardest thing because my mind was like, no, where are you going to go? What are the options? Pros and cons, like different type of law, different, like, and so but my mind kept going, but I would just like calmly, just come back to the breath. And then it became a body scan later. So I didn't solve it through the mind. But funny enough, when I left that retreat, like 2 weeks later, somehow I had already reached out to some places, and one of them was government, so civil service. And within 2 weeks, I got a call that somebody wanted me to come in, and then we met, and I got a job offer the next day after the retreat. So it's these magical things that happen when you let go of the thinking mind and just trust that it's almost like it's happening anyway. Your path of life is already happening, and we kind of just get in the way by trying to make it happen. And so it was like, wow, so I found myself within like 3-4 weeks in a government job, which is where I still am. I've done different roles within government. I work now at intergovernmental affairs, which is relationships between governments. But at the same time, so that was around 2006, and I was doing my yoga teacher training, and I had a manager there that, sorry, I'm just going to turn off my beeps. I should have done that already. But I had a manager at one of my offices that said, oh, that's really interesting that you're doing this yoga. Maybe you can come you do a lunch and learn on yoga. Right. So that was my first time kind of integrating. I had like my yoga world over here and my public service job over here. And she said, oh, why don't you bring it in? And I said, okay. And then all of a sudden, I realized that I didn't have to be ashamed of that part of myself because I almost felt like, oh, people won't like that. They think it's lazy so I kept that kind of hidden. And then I saw not everybody, but some people were interested. So I started to bring it in more and more people would ask me to teach. And it grew and grew and grew to the point that now we have a mindfulness program that is for the whole Ontario Public Service. So that's over 60,000 people. And we have like 10 facilitators, and we have multiple sessions a day. And we go and we do workshops. And so it's become a bigger and bigger chunk of what I do at work in my office. So that's, it's interesting because for a long time, I also struggled with, if I want to become, a yoga teacher, a meditation teacher, do I have to leave? And over time, I realized that that wasn't necessary for now, that actually I could do a lot of my work where I am and then eventually build it outside as well. But that there's a need for this work everywhere. So that's another interesting thing for the listeners, that maybe, you have a dream of teaching or doing something, but then you find your daily life is very different than that it's okay to take a little bit of that and bring it in, like just to talk to people about it, to let it feed your life, because you never know who you're going to help by sharing what lights you up.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And that is the main thing. When we start living from our joy, it just opens so many avenues. And when we start really making joy and our passion our number one thing, those limiting beliefs, like you said, like you didn't want to talk about it, they seem to go away because this is more important. My joy, my passion is more important than anybody else's belief or any other people's opinions. And that's really where you grow the strength and more joy in your life, when you let go of all of that and just make your joy. And like you said in the beginning, can't come from anywhere else but in here, right? There's nothing or anyone who can make you happy except you. And I 100% agree, which is also what changes the world when we change ourselves. We can't do anything to change the world except live from our joy. And I think what you said about the mind and the heart, that when you start to become the observer of your thoughts and you start realizing, those ego thoughts that are the loudest, right? And when you start to think, these aren't my thoughts, these are past emotions or past cycles that are coming back up that I'm just living over and over again. You can hear that quiet inner wisdom and whisper that tells you, live from your joy. Do this. This is fun. Do this. And I think eventually what I would like is to more lead from the feeling of joy and then have my thoughts follow. Instead of, like you said, we're trained to think and then feel. I'd like to feel and then think.
Totally. And I found that recently with two things. So for a while, I did actually take time off. I took 6 months off work to just work on my mindfulness coaching, right? And it was wonderful because, I built a coaching program, and now I have a certified program for lawyers, a thriving lawyer. So I did all these things, but I found what was interesting was that I brought my driven nature to my passion. I said, okay, now I have 6 months and I gotta build it, and then it started to lose its joy. And so I realized again that I thought, okay, if I have, all the time to do what I love, then it's going to be awesome. But it was it was about the way I was doing it that wasn't that helpful. So near the end of my leave, I was like, wait a second, what if I, again, just find joy, meet people, help when I can, share what I love about this instead of making it a to-do. And then when I come back into work, I realized I didn't need to leave. So that's one thing. But the other thing is, but I want to keep growing it. Like what you said, Laurie, like, wait a second, in my heart, I feel like this is my joy, this is my passion, this is what I'm here for. So I want to keep growing it. So what do I do? And so that's when I thought, okay, well, maybe I can write because I love writing. So I started writing. And the writing process has been the first time where I'm trying to do what you say, Laurie. So instead of like thinking, okay, I must do this, I must have this, this particular publisher or this process to do it, it's like give myself space. So I started by giving myself 30 minutes a day to write. And sometimes I would split it in 15 minutes, and then just listen to my heart and just do it. And sometimes you get the fear like, oh no, is it good? Who's going to read it? And then that's okay. That's something that's arising. So then you work with that. Oh, the fear is here, and maybe you write about it, So it's like, oh, I'm trying to write my book, but fear tells me I can't do it. So then maybe I put it in my book, right? So you start to explore, and it's a whole different way of living your life because now I'm at the point where I've written a good chunk. And so I'm meeting people. Okay, well, what's the next step? I'm meeting somebody on Monday that might edit it. I met other people or publishers, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, and it requires a lot of trust that as we live this way, we can try with small things. You just even like what you're going to wear. And not like think about like what's the right thing. What do I feel like wearing? What color do I feel? Like try with little things, or what do I want to eat? Not because it's healthy for you or it's like your treat or whatever. It's just like, what does your body actually want in this moment? Like your animal self, And it's so refreshing and fun and free. So, but we don't know. So we have to almost accept the uncertainty. I don't know what's going to happen with this book, where it's going to go, who's going to publish it. It might not get published at all. It might turn into something else, but it doesn't matter as long as I'm having fun with it and that it's an expression of who I am throughout the process. And then the outcome will be what the outcome will be. So it's almost
And
like the backwards way of how I used to live. Like, I'm going to do this, right? And then it's like, work really hard and suffer until you get there, but then it's like, what was the point? Instead of like enjoy every step, and maybe I'll get there, maybe I'll end up here, but what does it matter?
and that's how I met Paula, was through, Laurie Mullen had told me about Mike Dooley and his notes from the universe. And then I saw that he had an infinite possibilities workshop, what's called the Writer's Lair, last month in August. So we, Paula was in the group too, and the last group of the month, you have breakout session. So she and I were in the same breakout session, and we were just kind of introducing ourselves. And I mentioned the podcast, and that's how we got to know each other. And we had a little conversation after that. And Laurie Mullen has just recently published a book as well called Living Your Dream Life. Yeah. So, what is your book about?
Yeah, so it's actually about a lot of what we're talking about. So the working titles are, I have two options. You can tell me what you think. So one is The Masks of Achievement, uncovering your essential self. So the way, we mask to achieve and to look a particular way, or From Achieve to Receive, the path back to yourself. Because I also realized, like, what's the drive behind the achieving? I was hoping to get something. I wanted to get, and when I really got quiet about it, is I wanted to get a sense of being loved, of being accepted, of being connected and appreciated for who I am. And I thought, if I just do the thing, then people will really appreciate me and love me. But people don't really care, frankly. If anything, they're a little jealous. When you do the thing, maybe some people, your really good friends, will be happy for you. Everyone else will just be a little jealous. But if instead you receive, and one of the paths that I pursued many different yoga and mindfulness paths, but because of my ancestry, I got very interested in Kabbalah a few years ago, which is the Jewish mystical path, which is actually open to everybody. You don't have to be Jewish to learn it. And I always find a word of the year. And my word of the year that year, this was maybe like 2023 or so, was receive. I wanted to receive. I wanted to receive because we're like alive. It's amazing. There's breath, there's vitality. We're receiving every moment. We're receiving life, and it's so beautiful. But we forget. We think we have to get it. We're loved every moment. So if I can just tap into that each day and receive it, then I don't have to achieve anything, because I already received it. So from achieve to receive. And it turned out Kabbalah, and I started studying Kabbalah that year, and it means receive. Kabbalah, the word, means to receive. So I was like, wait a second, I'm onto something here. So that's what I hope for people, is that they're able to move from trying to think, if I just achieve the relationship, the job, the whatever the dream is. Even I have to say, even because now I've been struggling with world peace, wanting harmony in the world. And it's so frustrating when you see it going in the opposite direction. Even that, to soften that and instead receive the love and the perfect peace that is available, and be that as you walk through the world and share it. Ironically, I think it'll bring more peace than really like trying really hard and fighting people that disagree with you.
That's the thing, right? I mean, that is the way that we create new, is to bring it within ourselves. So if we can bring the peace, the world peace we want, and live in a space of peace, then the more of us that do that, the more we can create it in the world. But when we're trying to go around controlling everybody else to want what they don't want, all we're doing is uncreating that within ourselves. We're creating the same thing that we're fighting against. So if instead of trying to make the world peaceful, if we bring that peace within ourselves and more people see that state of real peace you're living in, they want that for themselves. And if everybody just did that for themselves, we really could create world peace. But you can't, we really need in this society right now is to stop thinking that we can control everybody else, or we can want for them what they don't want for themselves. That's been a big lesson for me, a huge lesson for me. Because I mean, especially to the people closest to us that we love, we want better for them. But I can't want better for them than they want for themselves. All I can do is love them where they are and hope that they want something different than they're going through right now, which, I'm not great at. I'm learning. I'm still trying to become that new person. But we have to start within ourselves instead of stop trying to control or think we can fix or heal something else.
I love that. And that is the work. That's the work now. For me, what I've been observing this because I have family members who have different views, and then it's like, but I noticed I have to work with my own fear, right? Because it's like, I'm afraid for them, or I'm afraid for the world, or I'm afraid. And then that's been such a challenging lesson to work with our own fear, that it's just unpleasant sensation in the body, and we can give it love, and we can again receive of all that's good now and send them love. But it's challenging.
Yeah, I think it's challenging too. And I think it's very challenging to really understand how to receive, because so many people that I know, including myself, I'm much better about that now, but I tend to sabotage what I receive because I think, oh, well, why are they doing that? Like, what's the ulterior motive? And what I've learned over the years of working with a lot of this stuff, and the horses have helped, is that, we really have to find everything we need within ourselves and not have any expectations from the people around us to react the way we, quote, want them to react, because they're not going to. It's, they might one time out of 152 react the way you specifically want them to, but most of the time it doesn't work that way. So if you can find your own love in your own self to fill those voids, and I've lived alone. Well, I have my grandson, but I haven't had a partner in close to 20 years on a steady basis. And I've really learned how to rely on myself and to really accept my own inner love. And it's really taught me how to receive. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that, for the listeners, to how do you learn to receive?
Yeah, I love that, Kim, because for so long I was angry at my parents because I felt like I didn't, I figured all this out, like, oh, why am I always striving and I don't feel love? And it's like they should have loved me more, like it was their fault. And then I worked through that, trying to forgive them and love them and accept them. But now I am married and I have two teenagers, well, preteen, 12 and 15. And let me tell you, if you expect to get the love from your family, you're gonna, be miserable again and again because they're doing the best they can. It's not always very good, So, I do believe that we come into this world. Recently, I've been having in my meditation these experiences of imagine the time you're born. Okay, so you're born and you're in this womb and everything's like perfect. You're like relaxed and the temperature is great and all is good. And then you come out and it's cold and it's like bright and there's all these, and then you look at your parents and you're like, oh, maybe they can bring me back, right, to that place where I'll finally, again, it's like we miss this place of feeling complete. And we think, oh, my parents should do it, my partner should do it, my kids should do it. Good luck with that one, or something, including other people. So absolutely, for me, it's been that same work of it comes from where do you receive from? It comes from nature. It comes from finding an exploration within yourself of what it is that brings you joy. Like if you catch little things, like for me, when I, started to do that, not the first time I did yoga, but later, I started to find that in movement and breath, there was some kind of joy. So I started to do more of the things that brought me joy. Sometimes pets, animals. So I would say for the listener, what brings you that state? Maybe it's listening to a guided meditation. Oh, this is huge. Other people but not the people that you want to give you love. Other people that are connected to this idea, that are working on spiritual growth. Then it's like, oh, I've found my community of like-minded people that we're doing this work together. How can we love ourselves? So we can, if one day I'm not feeling good, maybe I can text Kim and be like, you know what, I feel really crummy today. And Kim will say, remember, you have what you need inside yourself to find breath, use mantras. There's so many tools. And to not get lost in the tool also, because for a while I was like, oh, this tool will do it, or this type of yoga, or this, but it's more, they're just tools that you explore. Journaling is really nice. I journal every day and I ask, what's the most important thing today? And then I kind of get clarity. And it's a process of finding those spaces within yourself where you're not receiving. So I do it through the body as opposed to the mind. So you'll notice the places in the body that feel tense and stuck, and they're like, no, I don't want to rest. I don't want breath. I need to do something, and to just be with them like you would for a little pet or a little child. We build those two parts of ourselves, the parts that are scared, that want to receive, and the part that is unconditionally loving. And then with practice, lots of practice, the unconditionally loving part starts to grow. Visualization is really helpful. A few years ago, I had this image that came to me of this beautiful woman with white clothes and blonde hair. And I think she reminds me of somebody when I was a young child at summer camp and everybody made fun of me because I was different, because I was an immigrant. I wore different clothes. I didn't speak English so well. So everybody made fun of me, including the counselors. It was such a painful experience. I was sitting by myself. But there was this one woman, she was a counselor in training, who sat next to me, and she was like, I think it's them. It's not you. You know, I think she's like, I think you're just a little more mature than they are. And I was like, really? It's not me? So thinking about people in your life that have given you that sense of I'm okay, and then maybe even visualizing them, bringing them in. So I do a lot of that kind of work with people in terms of visualizing themselves when they're 4 or 5. If you want, we can actually do it together. We could do a little
Yeah,
meditation,
that would
if
be
that would be
nice.
helpful. Yeah.
That would be nice. Yes.
Should we do that now, or anything else you wanted to chat about
Sure,
first?
we could do that. That would be great.
All
Let's do
right,
that.
let's do it, because this is what I do for myself and for my clients when you're not feeling that you're worthy of receiving. You're not feeling loved. You're feeling like none of this is working. So you can settle into a comfortable posture, and this can be seated or lying down, whatever feels good for you. And if you have something comforting like a blanket or a pillow, you're welcome to bring it in. And you can feel free to close your eyes, or you can soften your gaze. And let's begin by settling the body. So noticing your body on the earth. And notice that the earth supports you. So feeling held and connected to the earth beneath you. Noticing also that you're breathing. And I invite you to place 2 hands on your belly, if that feels good for you. And allow the belly to get really big with each inhale. So slowing down the breath and telling your body it's actually safe right now in this moment. It's okay to have a full breath. So the belly expands and then the ribs expand as if they were an umbrella. So as you breathe in, first the belly expands and then the ribs open like an umbrella. And the breath goes all the way up into the heart. And then on the exhale, let it go. And then just do this umbrella breath a few more times. So breathing in, belly, opening the ribs all the way into the heart. And on your exhale, notice how you're held and supported by the earth. And one more. Beautiful. And now imagining in your mind's eye a beautiful scene, your perfect place. It could be somewhere you've been, or it could be an imagined location, your perfect destination, your dream vacation spot. And you see yourself there. Notice the smells, the sights. Notice how it feels to be there. And then picture yourself shrinking down to the age of 4 or 5. So there you are, small child in this beautiful scene. And allow yourself to play, to run, to do whatever you like to do. And then out of the corner of the scene comes this beautiful being. Could be someone you know or someone you don't know, or it could even be an animal. So this wonderful being's coming closer to you, and you realize that they're so happy to see you. you feel so much love. Just complete unconditional love. So you see this being, you come together, they say hello, and you embrace in whatever way feels good. And then they ask you, what would you like to do now? And together, you play, you swim, you run, whatever you want to do. Maybe you fly. Anything is possible, and you do it together. And then you sit down after a while of playing, and they ask you, how are you? Tell me everything. So you start to tell them all your worries, all your thoughts, all your concerns about your family and the world and other people and the ways that you don't feel like you're good enough. And they just listen so lovingly. And you notice that as you talk, you feel a little bit lighter and you're giving over to this being all of your worries, all your concerns, all your troubles. And they say, just give me everything and I will transform it for you. So as you do that, you start to feel lighter and lighter, and you notice this dark color moving from you to your being, and then your being actually just moves it into the earth to be transformed. So it doesn't harm anything. So allowing all of it, the deepest, darkest, black mud in your heart, letting it go to your friend to be transformed. And as you sit there together, you notice that the beautiful sun is shining right on top of your head, and you feel this golden sunshine coming into the top of your head and clearing your whole body, filling it with this golden light, so that any remaining blackness becomes seen and can be transferred over to your friend with each exhale. So breathing in the light of the sun into your whole body. And breathing out, letting go anything you don't know, you no longer need. Doing that a few more times. Breathing in love and light. And breathing out, releasing, letting go of all tension. And now it's time to say goodbye to your friend, but they remind you that they're always here for you. So whenever you need them, you can just call them over and they will carry all your worries and all your concerns so that you can be free. So whenever you're ready, you can wiggle your fingers and your toes. Give yourself a stretch. And coming back together again.
Thank you so much. That was beautiful. I needed that this morning. Thank
My
you.
pleasure. And I think I do believe it's very physical in the body, you know, that we carry, one of my teachers calls it somaticized trauma. So any past hurts that we haven't fully felt, they get stuck, you know, and so we just slowly, slowly, slowly clear it, bring in light, give over to the earth or to your friend or to your higher self, whatever resonates for you, to God, whatever nature. And that's how we do it. We receive from that higher self, but we continually, because we're human, we're never going to be free of all fear and anger. They're a part of who we are. So we just clear it for the moment and elevate the consciousness, give it love.
It's a good practice to continue to do. Yeah, the clearing. Thank you so much. I feel like I've really been inspired today by what you've been talking about, and thank you for everything. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the listeners?
So yeah, I just feel really grateful that we had this opportunity to connect and for me to express how I'm seeing things these days. And I just want to encourage everybody to, my teacher of mine told me to never suffer alone because there are so many of us that can help each other. So I see us all, I think Ram Dass says, we're all walking each other home, right? So we're all in this together. And it's a dark, tough time out there. So don't feel you need to do this by yourself. Reach out to me at any time. I'm happy to talk to anybody. Maybe we can put in the Zoom my email and website. So feel free to reach out. Yeah, we're here to support each other and we can still have a life of joy and fun, even when things are challenging. So thank you so much.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We will definitely have all your contact information in the comments below. I definitely know that I will be using that meditation over and over again. That was absolutely beautiful. And I look very much forward to hearing about your book and being able to read it when it is published.
Oh, thank you so much, Laurie.
Kim, did you have any last thoughts? You're muted, Kim.
It was great to meet you. And, I really think a lot of the stuff that you brought up and the conversation is really helpful for a lot of people. So I thank you.
Yeah, and I think that this is a conversation we could go on and on again. So we would love to have you back at some point in time and continue this conversation. And thank you very much for being our guest. So if you've liked this conversation as much as we have, we hope you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, how is your intuition leading you to the next perfect step?